Welcome back to Case by Case Training. My name is Ben Case, and in the last video we talked about progressive overload, and I just discussed what exactly it is, how important it is for your workouts and for your progress, and then also just kind of some examples of how to actually implement progressive overload into your workout program. And I talked specifically about the ways that I use progressive overload, a system that I've developed and used with all my clients and also with myself with my own programs. And I linked to a PDF in that video in the description. And what I want to do today in this video is actually look at that PDF. I didn't really go into too much detail about the example of how to implement the progressive overload for your own workouts. We more just kind of talked about what it is and defining it, and I kind of briefly did an overview of how you can start to implement it. But today I just want to dive in a little deeper into the actual PDF and go over that with you so that you can actually get some use out of it and start implementing it in a very practical way. So I just always want to make sure that there's practical steps for you to take to be able to actually get results and be able to use the content that I'm providing. So that's going to be the goal today, is to look a little deeper into this. I'll walk through. I've got it open here in front of me, and I will walk through it with you. If, however, I'm not going to go through in this video all the details of what progressive overload is. So if, however, you have any questions about that, or you're just curious about what that even means, you can watch the other video. I'll link to it at the end of this video, or you can also find it in the description. I'll put it down there. That one is 4 rules of progressive overload. So I'd recommend watching that video first if you have any questions about progressive overload, and then today we'll dive into this PDF example sheet. So we'll go right to it, and I've got it pulled up here. So I have 2 different examples here that I put in, and the reason for that is you'll see I've got weight training example and then calisthenic example. And the reason is because depending on what you're trying to do or how you're working out, there's different ways to do progressive overload. And we can do progressive overload with any kind of form of exercise, really. So whether it's with weight training or body weight training or even running or whatever it is, progressive overload is still something we can implement, but it's going to look slightly different depending on what you're doing. And so really the biggest one that is the most different, everything can mostly carry over for each kinds of exercise except weight training. That's the one that is most unique, because when we're talking about weight training, we are typically trying to accomplish a certain goal, whether it's putting on muscle or putting on strength or even weight loss through weight training. Depending on what the goal is, that's going to determine the best or optimal rep range that you should be sticking in with that weight. So for example, if you're doing hypertrophy training, you're going to typically want to be between the 10 to 12 rep range for optimal muscle growth. So we don't really want to adjust the reps each week. We want to increase the weight. We want to continue to put more weight, more stress to where our muscles are having to grow. Same with strength. If you're doing strength training, it's going to be a little less repetitions than you would for muscle growth training. And same idea, we want to increase the weight, not the reps necessarily. And we can add more sets as well. That is another way to do that. It's adding more volume ultimately, but the rep ranges we typically want to keep about the same. So that being said, we can look here at this example. In set 1, if we're doing the bench press example, set 1, the optimal rep range is 10 to 12, but we were aiming for that 12 mark, and we got it with 155 pounds. Now, side note, really quick, if you start out, for set 1, maybe you don't know what weight you can do yet or what weight you should do. You're going to have to kind of feel it out. And so when you do that first set, if 12 feels super easy, you might need to really increase for the for the second set. If it's too hard, if you only get 8 reps on set 1, obviously you want to drop, and you're going to have to try to go down and try to figure out that first time, what's going to be that sweet spot for hitting that 12 mark. So once you figure that out, set 1, 155 pounds, happened to be the right weight, got it 12 times. It was not too easy, not too hard, just right. And then we did set 2, same thing, got it for 12 again. By set 3, started to burn out a little bit and only got 10 on set 3. That's okay. All that means is it's you're not a failure. It's just that you burned out by set 3, and that's going to happen. And so that's kind of expected. But what we're going to do because of that, you'll notice in the yellow there, I've highlighted, we're going to stay at that 155 weight mark for the next time we do this workout. And the reason is because we just really want to ensure that our body's ready to increase weight. If I couldn't get 12 with it, and that's my goal, and then I increase weight for the next week, that is progressive overload. I am pushing myself, but it's a little aggressive overload. We want it to be progressive, and so we want to make sure that our body's really ready to increase and take on the next amount of weight. Example number 2, or example 1 still, but the second exercise here with the skull crushers, just for sake of example, I have them hitting it for all 3, getting the 12, and that is when we'll increase. That's when the next week or the next time that you do this workout, you'll go ahead and up the weight slightly. And so it could be, it's not a specific amount. You're going to have to kind of feel if it was really, really easy. Obviously, maybe you add 5 pounds, 8 pounds. On more of these isolated exercises, you're not going to be able to add nearly as much weight. So just even adding a few pounds is going to be a lot. And that's part of progressive overload. It's okay to add 2.5 pounds to an exercise. That's the point. We're slowly increasing. You're not just throwing on 20 more pounds the next week or doubling what you did. And if you are and you're able to, that just means you didn't do enough that first week. And that's okay if you're figuring it out in week 1. You might realize, okay, I could have done a lot more. And that's all right. But I'm just saying more for the most part when you actually hit the amount that you're supposed to, and it's the proper rep range that you should be in. The following week when you go to increase, you should really just be adding a couple pounds. Example 3 here, or exercise 3, military press. For this one, you get it on the first one, 100 pounds, got 12 reps, and then set 2, weren't able to do it, only got 10. And a lot of people, this is where they will ask me, if I don't get it on set 2, should I drop the weight? And my answer is no. If you did get it on set 1, the only time you really drop the weight is if on set 1 you didn't get it. If you just overestimated what you could do, only got 8 reps, then yeah, you would drop down weight because you're just not using a good weight. But if you actually were able to get it with proper form and you got 12 reps on that first set, set 2, even though you didn't get it, I want you to still stay at the same weight for set 3. And maybe you're even at less reps for set 3. That's okay. But what we're going to do in this scenario, we'll go back to the sheet here, is because you didn't get it, you failed to get it on 2 separate sets, 2 out of 3, the next week we will drop down slightly. And if you're wondering, why do we do it that way? There's a couple reasons. One thing is you might actually get it on set 3 still. So sometimes this can happen where the first set you are able to do it, you can do a lot. Second set, for whatever reason, maybe your body burns out a little bit. And sometimes by the third set, we actually are still able to get the amount that we did in the first set. And so I don't want you to just automatically throw in the towel and, just drop the weight down to a lower weight. I want you to see what you're able to do on that third set since you were able to get it on set 1 And if you're able to, you can still keep the weight the same at least for the following week and try to get all 3 sets. But if not, that's okay. Then you would drop down slightly the next week and try to get all 3 for that 12 rep range. So moving on to, hopefully this all makes sense. And if you're doing 4 sets with the weight training, it's still the same idea. You can obviously adjust things accordingly and do it your own way, but the way I would probably do it is same idea, but if I get at least 50%, I'm going to stay the same. If I don't at least get 50% of them, so if I don't get 2 of the sets for the right amount of weight, then I'm going to drop. And if I get obviously all 4, that's when I'm going to increase. And if I get 3 out of the 4, that I would still say the same. I would just treat it as the same as getting 2 out of the 4. So that's how I would do it, but you can obviously adopt this to your own style as well. This is just to help you. This is just how I typically do it. And so that's the point here. So on the next one for calisthenics, a little more self-explanatory, but it's just more about the rep ranges for this, or adding sets potentially as well to progressively overload. But if you do body weight squats and you go for 40 the first week, and the way I would base this in week 1, a lot of times is I'll just set like a timer for like a minute and just do what I can in that minute time. And because potentially if you're kind of resting in between and you're not really keeping pace, maybe you could do 100, but we really want it to be more at a decent pace. How many are you able to do? And so setting that timer for about a minute and just trying to keep a steady pace can be a good way to figure out for week 1. You could just go until you can't go anymore for week 1 if that's what you want to do as well, but typically that's not going to be accurate representation of what is going to be good for 3 sets, because if you burn out all the way on set 1, you're probably definitely not going to be able to do that much for set 2 and set 3. But so doing that minute timer is a lot of times for bodyweight exercises the way I'll figure out week 1 what should I be doing. And so let's just say you got the 40 for set 1 for bodyweight squats. Set 2 you did 40 again. By set 3 you dropped, you could only do 34. Now another thing I want to add is when you don't hit the mark on set 3, that's actually a good sign. If you hit it on the first 2 and you didn't hit it on the third, you're right in the right amount of reps. That means you're right in the sweet spot of what you're wanting to be doing, because it's not too easy that you were able to just easily do all 3 and should have probably done more. And obviously that's the point of increasing then the next week, but it's also not too much where you're burning out. It's the perfect amount really when you just fail on 1 set. And so that's actually kind of what we're aiming for, is we really want to be in that spot where I'm getting 2, I'm failing on 1, and I say failing, I just mean you're not getting to the amount of reps that you were aiming for. That is a good spot to be in. That's what we're trying to always be in. And so that's why if you get all 3, the next time we're slightly increasing. We're trying to kind of get ourselves back to where I can do 2, and on that third one, it's a struggle. Or maybe if it's the second one that's a struggle and the third one I can get, but 1 out of the 3. On the next one, kind of did the same thing here with the example, just that you got all 3 for the amount of time. And I did a timed one just to change it up. So if you're doing something like planks, it's going to be a timed exercise. And if you get the time on all 3, then you can increase the following week to a greater time. And then last one here, we did push-ups, and for this example, you weren't able to get the amount on the second 2 sets, and so therefore we're just going to drop down slightly. And when I drop down on these ones, if you fail on 2 out of the 3, I just drop down to the amount you got on the third. And the reason for that is because typically that turns out to be for 3 sets what is more achievable for you. And it could be if you, for this example, you got 18 and 16, if it's possible that 18 is the ideal range, and you could try that the next week and see. But there's no harm in dropping a little further just to ensure that you're actually able to do it. And then you can always increase later. That's the point, and that's one of the things to talk about in the other video is, one of the benefits of progressive overload is you don't have to go too hard all at once. You don't have to do too much all at once because I'm going to keep pushing myself and I'm going to improve. And so it helps you to do this, stay true to the process and not overdo it and not hurt yourself or, burn out because you were trying to do too much all at once. And so it's really just a guide. It really helps you to have a guide of what you should be doing to not overdo it, but also what you should be doing to continue to push and keep getting results week in and week out. And so I hope this will be helpful for you, and I hope this walkthrough is helpful as well, and that you can get some use out of this form of progressive overload and how to implement it. And I will see you in the next one. Hey, I just want to take a minute to talk about the number one product in the health and fitness industry that I recommend people invest in. It's not a supplement, it's not a workout program or even a piece of workout equipment, but it's something that has been studied and tested and is used even by chiropractors and physical therapists. And the best part is it actually works. And that's why the top product I recommend is a massage gun. I don't think there's anybody who can't benefit from using a massage gun. And I know that everybody is capable of using it. It's very simple to use. And even massage therapists are using them now because not only are they extremely effective and have been proven to be beneficial, but they're also extremely efficient. And just 2 minutes of using a massage gun, it's the equivalent of 15 minutes of a traditional massage, whether it be a foam roller or actually going to a massage therapist. So if chiropractors are using them, physical therapists are using them, and massage therapists are using them, and even now sports teams, professional sports teams are noticing the benefits and using them and implementing them, why aren't we all using them? It's not something that has to be only reserved for top athletes. It's something you can get your hands on and start receiving the benefits from today. And just to put it in perspective, the cost on average is less than the price of one massage. So you can do the math there, and you can take it with you wherever you go as well. So check it out. I'll put a link down in the description of this video to the one that I personally use and recommend. And if you want more details on all the benefits of using a massage gun, I'll also link to a video that goes into further detail on the subject.